The views and opinions expressed by Joseph R. Wheeler III, that's me, do not necessarily reflect those of ONYXCON, its associates, sponsors, or anyone else affiliated with ONYXCON. That was good. Okay, so let's get into it. So my thing about women calling themselves the be this, be that. And no, I'm not saying it because you hear it enough. You know, I laugh because I think to myself, I've learned enough about modern society to understand we are at a point in history where, do you know there's some young folk that are right now annoyed that I'm not saying be? They're annoyed that I'm going to keep saying be instead of just saying it all the way out. They're itching for me to put the itch in it. They can't stand to not hear it the other way. It's just like some people, S-O-M-E, that have an issue with if I were to say, I don't like the N-word and I don't want to hear it all the time. And I'm a hip-hopper. I'm gonna say that again. I'm a hip-hopper. For anybody under the age of 40, even over the age of 40, but especially under the age of 40, gonna feel me on this. You spend a lifetime of hearing a certain thing in a certain way. If you have a certain type of intelligence, a certain type of education, a certain kind of swagger in the way you move in the world, you start to understand how some things will always be guttural. There's just nowhere around. When I say guttural, I mean lowly. They have a low frequency and they never reach a high frequency. I don't care who sings it, says it, elevates it in a different way. It doesn't matter what you do with it. The general consensus will always be a low frequency. And there's a reason for it. It's because everything holds an energy. People say, oh, word is just a word. I can't stand when people say that, especially as an actor. Because as an actor, I know for a fact, okay, that not only do words hold power, but the whole purpose, the whole goal of a working actor is to gain a speaking role. Because even though the history of film is in silent film, it started with silent film, and then we grew into they added the audio to the medium. But the bottom line is, if it were not for the voice, the film industry would not be what it is today and continues to be. People want to hear characters speak. Even when you watch an animated film, what makes it what it is, on top of everything else that makes it what it is that voice. It's the voice actors, okay? So I know the importance and the value of words. Impact and the meaning of words intrigues me. I love etymology. I love the roots of words, the origin, the real history behind words, the real reasons people say what they say, the real reasons people do what they do. True history, y'all. True history. All right? So if you know these things, you get to a point in life where you're like, look, I can't stay on this low frequency. I may have grew up with it. I always said, I called it partying to the madness. I made that phrase up when I was in high school or college, somewhere in there. I said, man, we party to the madness. It's like we know that what we love and some of the music I grew up on, not all of it, but we know that the parts of it that had low frequency, we knew it was. If you were truly woke, as we originated the term woke, not this new political, suddenly, people in Washington talking about woke or not woke. Y'all ain't got no right. Hush. Just shut up. I'm gonna say that on record. I cannot stand that. Don't try to politicize something that never had nothing to do with you. If anything, it had something to do with us being aware of actions of government. Okay? It ain't government gonna throw it back at us and start pointing, oh, they woke, that's woke, this is not woke. You gotta walk many paths to get to that enlightenment. And all y'all want is the end result and some more manipulation. So that's a whole nother topic. But the real meaning of woke, all right? Really, truly woke. So I have an issue with when you are really, truly woke, people using certain words flippantly, and especially our women these days. And I say our collectively. I'm not just talking about black women. I'm talking about women of my time. But I'm saying some of y'all that talk this way don't understand how detrimental it is in the long run. We have gotten to a point in history where you got young ladies thinking they looking down on being called young lady. They thinking it's lame, it's corny to be said that. They want to be called a bad bee. They want to be called a thought. you know, that hoe over there. That's what the phrase means. And it can cause all types of, you know, cultural confusion and other confusion if it's allowed to linger long enough to become a standard where no one questions it anymore. People just doing stuff. This is why I can't claim for the culture. If that's what y'all gonna make it, no, we're gonna make it plural over here. It's got to be, because I got to have the choice of saying that ain't me, a little bit of that is me, maybe some of that, under the right circumstances, that, and that right there, oh hell no, never no. And I mean no, right? It's like sagging pants. I have a big problem with that. Yeah, got a big problem with that, folks.
Shirts on campus. You're not going in the room with your pants hanging down to your butt. Why? That's enough. Like, because some of the GAs, some of the support staff on this board, and even myself will show up in your classroom just to check. So I want you in the front of that class. And I want you being a leader. A leader.
I could go on and on for many reasons, but here's the number one starter reason. In all of the research of where that trend came from and how it first became most popular with Black and Latino youth in inner city situations is the root to both prison culture, and then some people say it goes back to slavery. Now, some people, once they acknowledge that, want to give pride to either or. There's nothing good about either of those situations. Again, we're talking low frequency. We're talking bad situations. We're talking forced mental oppression in both situations. No one volunteers to be a slave. No one volunteers to go to prison or end up in a lifestyle that would put you in prison in any place on this planet. It's a reality of circumstances and oppression. Because no child born is just naturally a criminal. It's a conditioning and circumstances. Period, point blank, done. So under the same premise of understanding that these things are conditioning and circumstantial, some people are in environments where a trend, okay, because that's exactly what it still is forever and a day, a trend that became a standard becomes a culture. Yeah, because the definition of culture, and this is a definition you can take with you and work with, and I promise you it's gonna check out on every angle. I've tried it, I've tested it, it's approved. It's my definition of it's my definition of the formula of culture. Culture is all conscious beings have the ability to make choices. You know the E40 song, Everybody Got Choices. I love that. That's one of my jams. I love that. Shout out to 40. Everybody got choices. You got choices. So you make a decision, a choice to do certain things with your clothes, to represent something, to acknowledge some way you want to be seen, or whatever it may mean to you. Just whatever it may be, right? Then it becomes a habit. After it becomes a habit, other people doing it like you, they pick up the same habit, they doing it too. Birds of a feather flock together. We all doing it, we all have to do it, or maybe we just want to do it, or whatever the case may be, human activity. Now it becomes a tradition. Oh snap. Once it becomes a tradition, you're in trouble. Or it could be glorious, depending on what the frequency is. Because if it's a low frequency, you're in trouble of dysfunction, continuous dysfunction. If it's on a high frequency, you're on the road to success, to prosperity, to universal acceptance and acknowledgement for being on a higher frequency. Universal. There's some things that are just universal, meaning it doesn't matter that somebody doesn't wear exactly what you wear or do exactly what you do, but with whatever you do, it's presentable. It's acceptable enough that they might give you, or will definitely give you, more of an opportunity in higher frequency playing fields. And when I say playing fields, I'm saying just in every level of life, whether you're talking about a relationship with a woman, or if you're a woman with a man, or whatever you're into, whatever you do, but just trying to attract a mate, to a job offer, to someone helping you to grow your skills because you have something that you have a natural talent for and you're just trying to get better at it, but you need to be around masters of it, people of higher frequency, so that you can get to a higher frequency. You don't get there from dwelling in the low. You can be around other masters of the low. Yeah, there's masters on every level. Yeah, you got hood level, and I mean detrimental hood. I ain't talking about because people love to. Hey, I'm from the hood and I still did good, and good is it, and the hood can be good. You're missing my point. We all know when you say hood, it's still a low. Even the slang of it comes from low frequency because it didn't always exist. What did always exist? The concept of neighborhood. Before there was a neighborhood, there was a community. Before there was the word community, there was always the concept of the village. Before there was the word the village, there was us. Whatever us was, wherever the hell human beings were, there was a bunch of us. Whoever you were, us. Now as us, what are we? What do we represent? What represents the pride and the dignity of us? What represents the downfall and the low frequency if we get caught up in the bad habit that turns into tradition and then culture? Add it up, do the equation. It ain't gonna change. It ain't gonna change. You gotta know where things come from before you claim them. And you gotta be willing to understand that if you're gonna do something, it has consequences in different places because of the stuff that has become habit, tradition, culture. I'm in Atlanta, Georgia, all right? Born and raised. Even though there's a really bad problem with gangs here in the Atlanta area, right? You can generally about wear what you want, just about, in most places. And I don't want to be anywhere where I know there's an issue. And I try to stay abrupt of where there might be an issue. And it's real easy to read that even if I don't know what's going on every corner of where I might turn and have to drive or whatever. I always say, if when you pull up, everybody looking at you, like, who that? It's probably a low frequency and there's a problem gonna be around there if you stick around. Because they're paying you too much attention. They too concerned about whether or not you would be in opposition to what they got going on, or you might be of whatever it is. There's an issue there. But if people pretty much mind their business and could care less that you there, you might be able to hang for a minute, do whatever you got to do, and get the hell on. You know what I'm saying? That's one thing I've seen time and time again. From when I was in college in Brooklyn, New York, in 93, 94, real Brooklyn before gentrification, understand? It was the same energy when I had friends and family, which I still have friends and family in Los Angeles. And some of my friends and family from way back used to, when I used to go in certain places with them because I could go there with them, and I didn't have no issues because I'm with them, and you just know the codes. Like, I couldn't even wear this hat. You don't generally wear a lot of team baseball hats in LA because of what has happened over time with dysfunctional, low frequency energy and the threat of being killed because a gang has made that their insignia. And because they don't have the financial, etc., wherewithal to make their own and say, this is us, they claim something that's established by an entity that's so much bigger and so much more powerful in the playing field of life. But until that mind state dies out, it's still a threat. So you just don't do certain things in certain places. While in other places, don't nobody care. That's what? Man, that's Atlanta Braves forever, period. What the hell you talking about? Are you on the staff of the Atlanta Braves? Do you own any stock in the Braves? Do you and it gets silly when people from something else other than that level of power get to these levels of dysfunction, because all it hurts is us. All it destroys is our cultures. All it destroys is our families. All it destroys is our possibility of growing and becoming something great. I could go on a long tangent about that, but I'm gonna keep it back focused on some of my bigger points when I talk about style and stuff. So when you say that, when you got a thing like the sagging pants thing, which I abhor, to the point where, and I'll say this, and if I'm ever opposite of what I'm about to say, just understand I had to do what I had to do for an opportunity, but it's not because because I like it, because I definitely do not. I don't approve of it. But as an actor, I often think, I say, Hollywood, they'll challenge you. They'll be like, oh, we heard he don't like that. Let's give him a role with more money than he's ever seen in his life, and he'll just sag his pants and play a thug. Trust me, I've thought about this many times. I said, God damn. Because I would, right now where I'm at, I said, no, hell no. But life is weird. You can get caught up in a situation and do something because you're like, you know what? This could change my life. It might be able to change. Maybe it'll give me a platform to speak on it or something like that. So I often say to myself, I say, well, what if I were to get a character who is so well known as a rapper who died or something like that, and they sagged their pants at some point. But you could play that role because maybe at one point in that person's life they changed and they stopped doing that. And they were starting to change and become something better and more in tune with that high frequency I'm talking about. All right, I might be able to do that, but it's kind of like, it's like the Malcolm X story. You got some people who get stuck on Detroit Red and never graduate to Malcolm X. They get stuck in his street hustler days is what I'm saying. They get stuck and in love with the thought that he was a street hustler versus he graduated, he survived, and he moved forward and past that and saw the flaw in all of it, the low frequency in all of it. And he wanted the higher and he would not stop until he got to the higher. And unfortunately, those of a lower frequency who didn't want to see him continue to shine on that higher frequency took him out. But that's why we got to protect high frequency. That's why we got to make that the new standard and the true definition of black excellence, not this other stuff. Not all this, anything that's cool and making money is black excellence because we doing it. We making more money than anybody in our culture ever did. No, that don't justify the activity necessarily. And this is coming from somebody who will still, wave a little nod, repost some content sometimes on ONYXCON's feed on Instagram, for example. I've reposted videos by Megan Thee Stallion because I know Megan is a manga fan, an anime fan, and I like the fact that she doesn't hide that. And I like the fact that when you see her in her less made up state and her less just being just a cute girl from Texas who got can be ratchet and wild mouth, but when she really talking intelligent, okay, that's why you made it there. You're smart, you're intelligent, you're business oriented, and you got and you did graduate college. And even though you talk all this, I don't need no man, this, that, and the other, you do have a man. Whether they still together or not, you understand the importance of a good relationship. You got somebody in your life. Okay, I see all of that. So that's the part I'll put a little shine on every now and then. Because this stuff is so pervasive that the other stuff just starts to outweigh the high frequency. And this is why everything's off, y'all. We got to get back to celebrating high frequency. We got to get back to high frequency being hard, being tough, being the cool, being the best, being the standard. Because if we don't, we are continuously going to see the failures. Because that's all it is. It's pure failure out here with all this other stuff. No woman should be walking around calling herself or her friends a B. Back in my day, them was fighting words. I don't know how the hell it became a term of endearment. It's like the N amongst black folk. We know how it got there, but it's time to shape it up, switch it up, clean it up, get rid of it. I've said for the longest, I say, look, Kendrick Lamar on that one album said, Negus, Negus. He was trying to put it down. The brother is so brilliant, he was trying to test you and see, are y'all ready for this? Y'all ain't ready, because after that album, y'all still was saying the other mess.